My name's Chris McKendrick. I'm the CEO of WSA Healthcare, and today I'm representing one of our business units, which is Foys Medical. Joining me is Brigette who's the CEO of BioSure. Both our businesses are going to be partnering together to try and get the antigen test up and running and hopefully get the economy going again, and whether it be today at Tynecastle Stadium to try and get people back into sporting venues, but also the bigger picture of whether we can get travel going, hospitality, leisure, to name but a few. So thank you, Brigette, for joining me today. So obviously from a Foys Medical point of view, we're going to out there and represent and try and do obviously the product justice. So various questions just for those people out there who might not fully understand what is an antigen test and how does that relate to a PCR test. So can you enlighten us, Brigette?
So an antigen test, there are two types of tests, antigen tests and antibody tests. Antigen is if you have it now. Antibody is if you have had it and had some type of immune response. So we're looking at antigen testing. Has somebody got infection now? With the Know Now test, it's a rapid test, so it will give you your result in 15 minutes. And with a PCR test, it's a swab that you send off to a lab and you're on a super quick turnaround at 4 hours. Very normal turnaround is 24 hours. One of the really significant differences, there are three very significant differences about the Know Now test. The first one is it uses saliva. So it was designed to use saliva, it's been validated on saliva, it is a true saliva test. The second thing is that it's what it actually looks for is the spike protein, and that is only available on live virus. So we know that we will only detect current infection, and because of how the molecule is, because of how the virus is, there's lots of spikes on the outside of that, and every single one of those is an opportunity for us to detect it. So we have a really early detection at really low limits of detection, and that's unique. It's a proprietary, doesn't belong to us, belongs to someone called Vatic, who we've collaborated with. That is a unique aspect. Third thing is British, invented, developed and manufactured, and we're very proud of that.
Very good. And how often do you think they should be taken, and what's the kind of the cost element around all of this, you know, to try and sort of obviously get things moving again?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different approaches that can be taken in so many different sectors. So workplace being one, you know, reuniting your workforces, getting everyone back into one place. There's the event side of things and hospitality, where we could be looking at small events like weddings, could be looking at football matches where there's 15,000 people to get into a seat. There's the aviation sector, where are people going to need a test before they can even get to the airport? There are so many different sectors. I think the key thing of all of this is making sure it's affordable, so there's not too much impact on people. We know if someone's paying £5 for a ticket to go to see a band in a pub, you know, to pay another £10 or £15 on top of that is quite a lot of money. If you're going to a festival, if you pay £200, then another 15. So there's a balancing act around that. And I mean, our obviously main ambition is that in the end people will be able to test wherever and whenever they want. If they're seeing their families, if they are going to a family event, people will have the choice to test themselves. That's our ultimate goal.
Okay, and how significant do you think they are in light against COVID-19 and obviously the last year worldwide pandemic, and obviously we're still not anywhere near there yet, so how do you think the practicalities of bringing this in is going to make a difference to all of us?
Yeah, I mean, I think this real results in real time, and again with the Know Now test we are talking about current infection, so it's while you are in the period of being infective to others. I think testing is going to be around for a while, regardless of having the vaccine. There is going to be some element of testing, and not only because it's going to be necessary to have a COVID-safe environment, I think people will need this as a confidence to start being active again. We've been told for such a long time not to engage and not to do this, and we're doing things gradually. So if we can support people's confidence and help them make informed choices, which is what most people want to do, then that's what we'll go to. Hopefully at some point there'll be no testing necessary, and I will celebrate that day. So.
Great. And what sort of kind of support and guidance or information do you give with these tests?
I mean, there's a range. So, I mean, obviously our speciality from BioSure's perspective is on the self-testing side. So we've always had, I mean, the instructions for use are still finishing their validation at the moment for how usable are they for everybody, whether English is your second language, you know, a whole spectrum. And there's a user video in there. We've always run things like a WhatsApp line where we know how many people message us in real time saying, oh, I'm not sure if I've done this right, or can you help me? And I mean, we are trying to partner in every sector with someone who's got some real insight and credibility so we can find a solution together.
Okay, and what happens if the test is positive, if you think, you know, you're in that scenario, and we'll be doing pilots this week at Edinburgh Airport and again here at Tynecastle today.
So general guidance across the board is follow government guidelines. So even with a negative test result, we're all still locked down. Having a negative result, you know you're COVID free. That does not mean that you go out and don't take notice. If you have a positive test result, and our test, the Know Now test, is highly specific, so having a false positive is really, really unusual. If someone has a positive result, they're told to isolate and get a government PCR test through the government track and trace system. In lots of events at the moment, they are talking about giving full refunds for people who can't attend an event because of COVID. So, you know, hopefully that will incentivise people that they know they have to test, and if you can't attend because nobody really wants to infect someone else, then they'll get their money back.
Okay, and do you see a scenario where some people might be reckless in what they do around, you know, that testing procedure, or, you know?
Yeah, I think that the sort of high level, you know, the MHRA and Department of Health are concerned about behaviour. So part of what we're doing is BioSure with self-testing is capturing lots of information and data about behaviour, and there's always a focus, or that, you know, risk mitigation is where it has to be. There is always a focus about what if someone does go out and become a lunatic. I think there's always going to be lunatics, and our background's in HIV, so we've had to, you know, come across the most bizarre situations. Most people are really concerned about other people's well-being, and once someone knows their own status, be that COVID, HIV, anything, you can choose to ignore it, but it doesn't last long, you know.
Yep.
And most people are really conscientious, and also that's a very small minority of people. So people who do test positive, the majority of them are going to isolate. The people who test negative will still take advice on, you know, social distancing and wearing masks. But for me, information has always been, and knowledge is power.
Okay, and on the tests themselves, how accurate can you claim they are?
Well, as I said, from the specificity point of view, we are really not seeing any false positives. So we know on true negative samples, we get true negative results. I think our real forte is in the limit of detection. So that's how many plaque forming units, PFUs, so how many viruses are there in a milliliter of sample, and we're detecting as low down as 1,000 copies, so 1,000 PFU per milliliter, which means we should be able to detect someone before they actually become infectious. So for us, it's the early limit of detection that really is the key point.
Okay, and have the results, and, you know, up to now, the research piece, have they been peer reviewed in any way?
All of that is ongoing at the moment, so there is bundles of independent work that's been done with the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, with St George's. We're having PCR correlation done. We've done some work with Public Health England, with our partners Vatic. So it's, yeah, there is lots of eyes on this, and all of the evidence at the moment's looking really strong. Also, because of where we're based, all of our optimisation was done with the Kent strain of the virus, so we know we have high affinity with the Kent strain. There's some ongoing work at the moment with the South African and Brazilian strains, but because we detect the end of the spike, which is where this kind of ACE2 protein is, there is no variation happening in that within the mutation. So we're waiting for more data to come through, but we're very confident that our test will handle the mutations that we know will be ongoing.
And from an approval point of view, where are we at with UK government and public health authorities,
Yes.
England, Scotland?
Yeah, well, we're a bit of a curved ball in
Okay.
the whole scenario. So obviously we have the CE marking now for professional use. So that means it can be used in workplace settings and in healthcare provision settings. So that market is already opening up. And with the self-testing, there are two choices. We go through a derogation route or CE marking. So that's the data collection for that is in hand at the moment. One of our issues has been because we're so novel in the detection of not looking for nucleocapsid protein, and we're not a nasopharyngeal or a throat. No one quite knows which category we sit in at the moment with regards to lateral flow, and we're different from anybody else. So those protocols are being reviewed. We're working with all the stakeholders at the moment, and hopefully we'll have some more news to publish on that at some point.
Great. And listen, we're all desperate to get things opened up, and I know there's obviously a bit of a kind of journey going on here, but where do you think we are from an evidence point of view to be able to roll these antigen tests out on scale?
Yeah, I think one of the really interesting things that's happening right now at the moment is this testing in schools.
Right.
I think it will be interesting to see how many asymptomatics are captured, how that actually works in reality. I mean, looking at the work that we've done with Edinburgh Airport this week and also at Heart, I think we'll have a staged approach, and if we can evidence at each stage that the risk is being managed, the risk is being mitigated, we're learning with each phase. For me, testing is the only way that we're going to get back into some sense of normality. It can't happen without antigen testing.
Okay, and as we know, there's a lot of competitors out there to BioSure. From your particular antigen test, what makes it different to others on the market?
Well, it's unique for a start. So, as I say, we've collaborated with Vatic, and there is truly science and technology that I've never thought of before. So hats off to them. It's absolutely unique in how it's performing. It is a true infectivity test. So at the moment everyone's hearing lateral flow, and as you say, there are lots of competitors. There are lots of Chinese products that are being repackaged in white boxes in the UK and in Europe and being sold as local products. We sit outside of that, and I think the credibility of BioSure, with our history and with our brand credibility and what we believe in, there's going to be an educational process, but we are in a different sphere from any other test that's out there at the moment.
Okay, and supply, you mentioned obviously everything's in the UK, which is great because you're not relying on parts of product or componentry coming from other parts of the world. It can slow things down. So do you see any potential problems to supply? Because if the product's as good as obviously we believe it is, then everybody's going to want this.
I know, and everyone says it's a nice question to have. So there's technical transfers going on with other manufacturers at the moment, and the manufacturing side of things is scaling. I think looking at government numbers, the government are looking, obviously having their own kind of manufacturing areas within UK manufacturers, and we are already engaged with European manufacturers, so it's scaling quickly. It's so hard to judge this market, but I mean we want to support individual consumers eventually, but from companies that need a solution who've got 25 employees through to working with filling stadiums, so there's such a spectrum to work with.
And I'm sure, listen, it's not if, it's just a matter of when that huge demand is going to be upon us. So, have we got the ability to be able to scale up to maximise that, do you believe?
No, absolutely. And obviously the back end of the supply chain with reagents and how that can be scaled is another interesting point. But at the moment, the capacity is running at about 3 to 4 million a month. That will be doubled, I think, by the end of April, as we can bring more manufacturers on, and as we'll obviously have efficiencies in our manufacturing. Going from a lab into scale manufacturing is always interesting, but no, it's certainly our ambition that we have enough tests to fulfil demand, and at the moment the UK is our primary market. Okay,
and listen, we're delighted to be partnering with you from a Foys medical perspective. We have got links in football in Scotland. We've got lots of network opportunities throughout the UK, and certainly from not just getting sport going, but like mentioned earlier on, hotels, hospitality, travel, businesses returning back to some sort of version of normality. There's so much to go at here. Final question then, do you think, on a timescale perspective, knowing what you know how good your product is, you know obviously your optimum level in supply chain. You obviously have got the CE marks, which is great. So it's just some of those final bits. Realistically, when do you think we could be in a place to be able to roll this out with some volume?
The self-test, I think, to be honest, to get it through the regulatory process is going to be 3 to 4 months, and that will be quite rapid. From a professional perspective, buttons being pressed at the moment, so hard launch is next week, and our ambition is to scale as the demand hits. There's been a lot of legwork that has gone into being ready for this, and everyone wants some fun back in their life, especially me. So
we all do.
Driving passion is let's reunite everyone, have some fun, and do it safely.
And I think in the certainly the professional version of it. So I think obviously there's a relationship with PocDoc and Vital Signs to be able to upload to give you that sort of travel type certificate, whether that allows you to go to the football, have a day out, or whether it's to be able to potentially board a plane to go on holiday again. So these are obviously things that that are available and have been thought about.
And we've been working in antibody testing since last June. So we've been using the BioSure PocDoc app in workplace settings for several months now. Done lots of learning, and it's really helpful for employers to have ongoing reports and records, so that they know that their workforce is COVID safe. Now we're moving into the aviation sector with these fit to fly certificates, and as you say, event management, where you've got access control. Do you get your green tick? Do you get your red cross? All of these help with this solution of getting everything back open again. And we're learning as we're going along, which is what we're pretty good at doing, I hope.
Great. Well, listen, thank you for your time, Brigette. Certainly from a Foys medical perspective, we're delighted to be partnering with BioSure. I think that certainly in comparison to what else is out there, it's obviously market leading, and I think from an affordability point of view, then why wouldn't people want to take that option? I think we all just need to push hard now in trying to get sort of like lobbying the appropriate people, whether that's media, whether it's government authorities, whether it's organisations. If we can all do that, and obviously today's been a good example of that, then I'm sure we'll get there.
No, I do. I think having a united voice is good, and the education about why we're different and why this is novel. But hey, we did it with the HIV self-test, so we'll do it again with this antigen self-test.
Great, thank you, Brigette. I look forward to working with you.
Yes, me too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you, Brigette from BioSure. I'm sure that was very informative. It certainly was for me. We are absolutely delighted to be partnering with BioSure from a Foys medical perspective. It's been a fantastic day here at Tynecastle, actually watching the testing taking place, speaking to various members of the media, and that's in conjunction with the pilots that have been taking place over the last few days at Edinburgh Airport that we all witnessed as well. And the feedback has been absolutely outstanding for everybody that's went through that test. It's so simple, it's so quick, it's not going to cost a lot of money, and from that point of view it really does truly represent trying to get back to some sort of normality sooner rather than later. Thank you.